Okay, you guys ready?
We're ready.
Ready.
Welcome to 5 to 9, the movie game for movie fans, where we have to connect actors to actors through no fewer than 5 and no more than 9 movies. I'm your host, Eric Ginsberg, and we're coming to you live on tape from my apartment during quarantine in beautiful Asbury Park, New Jersey. Do you like movies? Do you love getting lost in the IMDb, the Internet Movie Database? Do you love talking through, oh, who was that guy? Who was in that thing? What's his face? Then this is your show, and this game is for you. In just a moment, I'm going to introduce today's contestants, but first, I want to remind you that if you'd like to be a contestant on 5 to 9, you can enter for a chance to be on our show by beating us at our own game. Just download or purchase official 5 to 9 game cards at 5to9game.com. That's the number 5, TO9game.com. Play today's challenge, post a photo of your winning game card on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook, and tag at 5 to 9 game in your post. So my first guest is a very dear friend of mine who we were talking before the show, and he told me that maybe a movie that always makes him cry is The Grand Budapest Hotel. Jeff Moller, hello, and welcome to the show. Can you tell me why The Grand Budapest makes you cry?
At the scene at the end where he's like,
Hold on,
"What happened?"
there. I did a thing wrong.
Okay. Gotta pull that one out.
Hold on. I left the thing that was checking the audio in on the. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I left the thing that was. I'll cut this out later. Okay, so tell me, why does The Grand Budapest always make you cry?
So Grand Budapest Hotel. Love watching that movie. Watched it multiple times. But the part where they move away from the scene where John F. Abrams is recounting his tale, and he asks what happened to him. They shot him.
Just that F. Murray Abrams ending, huh?
Yeah.
Always
F. Murray Abrams. Yeah, it guts me every time. It just guts me every time. I always get all teared up. I can't help it. So.
You told me that a movie franchise that you never want to see end is Batman, and I don't think you have to worry about that. It is never going to end.
No.
They're never going to stop making Batman movies.
I don't know that. Did I actually write that? That I never wanted them to stop it?
You did. Movie franchise you never want to end. You said Batman.
But the problem was I tried writing with many exceptions, and that got cut off.
Yeah, it did seem that you hated not just the ending of Batman vs. Superman, but all of Batman v Superman.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, man.
There was a lot to hate about it.
That was horrible. They should never have been made.
There's a lot to hate about it. So our next guest, who's already chiming in, is another dear friend of mine who agrees that Batman v Superman was an awful movie, but also one time met Bruce Campbell. Please welcome Maria Raia-Moller.
Hi.
Hi, Maria. How you doing?
I'm doing great.
So how did you see Bruce Campbell?
Well, it was at a meet and greet for his release of his book.
Mm-hmm.
If Chins Could Kill. And it was basically a biography, an autobiography of his life, starting out with the Evil Dead series and then moving forward. And at the book signing, I got a little peck on the cheek, and he wrote something very interesting in my book, that someday my grandkids will have questions and I will not give any answers.
You met him, you greeted him, and then some. I get you. You know, when I was a young guy, when I was about 20 years old, I got a job out in Hollywood working for a director who told me that he used to teach film at a college in Michigan, and Bruce Campbell and Sam Raimi were, for either like a summer or a year, were his interns.
Oh, wow.
From his class. And, you know, when you're in LA, it's always hard to tell what's real and what's like a little bit of BS.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, I like to think that I interned for the same guy that Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell interned for.
I could say it. I could say it.
Yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and tell people that version of the story. Now, Maria, you told me that maybe like your childhood crush was Patrick Stewart. But if you could get like a cheat pass today, oh, am I looking at the wrong? Oh, I see. It skipped a line.
Yeah,
actual
super.
See Anything as Patrick Stewart, childhood crush with William Shatner. Is that what I'm looking at here?
Yes. Yes.
Ew.
I admit to it freely.
Then I'm going to go back and do that whole piece again because
Okay.
I'll edit out the thing here. So you said that your childhood crush was William Shatner.
Yeah, I admit to it. It's not something I regularly admit to, but yes, young William Shatner.
Not 89-year-old now William Shatner.
No. But back when I was like 10 and we were watching Star Trek reruns, I couldn't help it. I really liked very young William Shatner.
Well, you know, and I'm dating myself here a little bit, but when I was a kid, like before I ever saw Star Trek the original series, I saw Star Trek the animated series.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
I
yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
I
Where
love
you know, for as much as the cast complains about, you know, ups and downs with William Shatner, the big-headed star, when he was offered the role of Captain Kirk in the animated series and found out that they were not going to bring any of the other actors with him, they just wanted him, and they would get, you know, random voice actors. He said that he would take his paycheck and divide it amongst any of the original cast members who wanted to do the animated show with him, which Leonard Nimoy did. I think George Takei did. Not everybody did.
Right.
But, you know, I thought that was a pretty, like, upstanding guy move.
I thought it was good.
I did not know that. That's a really interesting fact, too. That's really cool.
Yeah.
I'm chock full of them.
There was a lot of times people said that William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy had a very adversarial relationship, but when we saw them once at a convention, they were like the best comedic duo you have ever seen in your life.
Yeah, they definitely had a lot of ups and downs, but William Shatner was Leonard Nimoy's best man at his wedding, or vice versa. No, vice versa. Leonard Nimoy was William Shatner's best man at his second wedding.
Yeah. And I have never, Leonard Nimoy would make William Shatner laugh so hard that I thought Shatner was going to have a heart attack on stage. Yeah, I've never seen somebody laugh so hard and not be able to breathe and, you know, just keep on going with the show. It was amazing.
Yeah. Definitely a world-class talent. Guys, we've invited you both here today to play the game 5 to 9, where you're going to have to connect actors to actors through no fewer than 5 and no more than 9 movies. Here's how we're going to play the game. Before our show, I asked you to send me both the names of 5 actors. I put those names into a hat, and now I'm going to randomly draw them, and you are going to have to connect them. So our first name that we're going to have to pull out here is going to be Uma Thurman. So we're going to have to go from Uma Thurman. Give me a second to write Uma Thurman in our from spot on our game board. And we're going to have to go from Uma Thurman to Gene Wilder. Gene Wilder. And, you know, there's a very good connection on the two of them in that they were both in movies by a particular director who likes to cast a lot of the same people when he can. But we're going to draw a third name from this hat, and that's going to be our wild card. If you can go through the wild card, you can get 3 bonus points as we go. So our wild card is going to be a Bruce Willis, which, I mean, off the top of my head, I've already got a pretty good connection there, but I'm going to let you guys talk that out. Okay. And then one more thing we're going to do is we're going to spin the wheel. I'm going to try something a little different. I'm going to try hopping into the Zoom call with my tablet so that you guys can also see the spinning wheel. Tap.
We see your face.
Yay, see my face. That's great. That's great. That's great. And share, and screen, and start, and boom. All right.
Oh,
so I'm going to spin this wheel, and it's going to determine what is our house rule for this round. I'm going to give it a little spin. Boop. The animation's not as good on the Zoom call, but you should know it's spinning. Never done a sequel. Ooh, that's a tough one. Someone who has never done a sequel.
That's
going to be really hard.
That's a tricky one, because the
I mean,
problem
Uma
is
Thurman
once
did a
they
sequel. Bruce Willis did a bunch of
A
sequels.
bunch of sequels.
Yeah, but every actor we do get that did not do a sequel, we're going to get a bonus point.
well, did Gene? I don't think did
Gene Wilder didn't really do sequels.
You might have an advantage there.
Off the top of my head, I can't think of one that he was in.
Provided we're just not saying all Mel Brooks films are a sequel and are in a shared universe somewhere, we're good to go.
Well, we're not, but I'm so glad you hit down on Mel Brooks because Uma Thurman and Gene Wilder were both in Mel Brooks movies.
Uma Thurman?
Uma Thurman?
Yes, Uma Thurman was in a very good Mel Brooks movie.
Oh, dear.
So I'm going to put Uma Thurman into our from spot. Now, listen, before we get going, as always, I have to apologize in advance. Give me a second. Let me read this from my stupid script and edit out the flub later. As I always do, I have to apologize in advance to the actors who spent a career building a body of work whose faces we know, but whose names we may butcher, and of course to all the hardworking writers, directors, and producers who picked the perfect name for a film that we may likely fumble through today. I swear we really do love your work. Now, Jeff, Maria, you're going to be playing together. I'll be here on the sidelines to offer some help along the way, but not too much help. Are you guys ready to play the game?
Yay.
All right, so start talking it through. How can we get from Uma Thurman to Bruce Willis, our wild card, in like a move?
Okay, so I only know Uma Thurman from Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, which has
Bruce Willis.
Bruce
you
Willis.
nailed it.
So
that would be one move.
That's one move.
So you've just gotten to your wild card super fast.
So we got to the wild card.
Now, one thing I should mention to you guys, Kevin Bacon, always going to be worth 2 points. And any SNL cast member is always worth a bonus point. So keep those things in mind as you try to get from Bruce Willis to Gene Wilder.
Our wild card is Gene Wilder.
Well, actually, you have to get to Gene Wilder. Your wild card was Bruce Willis, and you just got to.
Okay, got it.
That was like a little alley-oop there.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
We got.
Yep.
Okay, we got the wild card. So then Bruce would have to be in something else with somebody else who was also in something else.
You're describing the game very well. Yes, you've got this.
Oh, my God.
You understand how the game is played. Good job.
This is my nightmare.
No. So the way I always like to look at it is, all right, think of films. The great thing about Gene Wilder is he's been in a lot of films with a ton of different actors. So I'm trying to think of like one of his, you've got the Richard Pryor films, you've got the Mel Brooks films, and I'm always trying to think of like, okay, who's an actor in one of those films? Because those are older films, especially like the Richard Pryor one, Hear No Evil, See No Evil, or not Trading Places. What's the one where they get arrested and they're in jail?
I can see the movie poster. I can't remember the name.
Yeah, I know. I can see it.
A fun fact is that Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor had such a great relationship. They loved working together. Originally, Richard Pryor was supposed to play the sheriff in Blazing Saddles, but he had become so unreliable that the studio would not let Mel Brooks hire him for the role. So Mel Brooks talked the studio into letting him keep Pryor on as an actor, not an actor, as a writer.
A writer.
And even then, he disappeared. He went into some drug-induced haze and woke up in Cleveland or Detroit or something like that, and called the set. And they're like, "Where are you?" And he's like, "I'm in, wherever in the Midwest he was." And they're like, "Well, you need to get back here because you have a job." And Mel Brooks was like, "No, don't worry about it. You're fine. You don't have a job anymore. Just stay wherever you are."
Right.
Wow.
He came up with Mungo. That was his big contribution to Blazing Saddles. He loved Mungo. I remember.
I'll bet.
All right. So Gene Wilder, I would say we've got. I'm trying to think of some classic actors that were in Pulp Fiction that would have been.
I guess maybe kind of work backwards, kind of like come out of Gene Wilder
and try to get to Bruce Willis, or try to get to Pulp Fiction. Really,
no. You don't want to get to Pulp Fiction because you want to get to Bruce Willis because Bruce Willis has already been gotten to through Pulp Fiction.
Right.
Yeah,
Right,
you're
right,
already
right,
there.
right.
And Bruce Willis has been in so many movies with so many people that the world is your oyster. If you just kind of work it backwards from Gene Wilder, it shouldn't be that hard, especially since you already got Richard Pryor. And apart from, being a phenomenal comedian and apart from a couple of movies with Gene Wilder, Richard Pryor is notoriously known for being in what stinker of a movie?
Superman 2?
3, but I'll give it to
Oh,
you.
Superman 3,
Yeah,
right,
Superman
right.
3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's,
But
a whole
yet-
world you can get to from there.
But yet, so many people remember the plot of Superman 3, where he takes one half of 1 penny and embezzles it from the company and ends up with millions of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
And that became the basis of another movie called Office Space.
Oh,
which
yeah.
was amazing. And I can't tell you how many times I've quoted that movie.
Well, I think something so great that they did was they were both lazy and brilliant in coming up with their plot because they stole the plot, but they
Yeah.
made it a joke that they stole the plot. And that's something that also I think the Marvel Universe has done really well in the MCU, because whenever they want to just steal from a movie, they just make a movie reference and then do it. Like the alien scene in Infinity War, like the I guess it should be a Gulliver's Travel reference, but it wound up being a Star Wars reference in Civil War, where they took Ant-Man down by tying up his legs. Have you guys not?
Oh my God!
Yes,
Right.
I do remember
right.
that. I do remember that. Yeah, that
And he
was
says, "Hey, you guys
funny.
remember that really old movie, Return of the Jedi?"
Oh God.
And Don Cheadle says, "How old is this kid, Tony?" And Tony's like, "I don't know. I didn't carbon date him. He's on the young side."
I forgot
funny.
about that.
It's all right.
It
So
makes me-
how do we back out of Gene Wilder and get into a more modern era of Bruce Willis films?
All right, so I'm trying to think of things. So we said Superman 3. Gene Wilder was in Superman 3. I'm afraid Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is a little too old to try and grab
Too
an
old.
actor. Yeah.
Yeah, the actors in that were really kind of like of their time and didn't transcend time the way he did.
There's a no one did a sequel out of that. Trying to think. Okay, so Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. We hit a Richard Pryor movie. I'm trying to think of what other movies he's been in. Mel Brooks movies. He was in.
I mean, we could certainly use Blazing Saddles. Who else was in Blazing Saddles you can connect to or from?
Madeline Kahn.
Oh, yeah.
I have a problem with
We
Madeline
used
Kahn.
Madeline Kahn a couple episodes ago. What's your problem with
Yeah.
Madeline Kahn?
No, nothing wrong with her. But I'm just trying to. How do I get out from Madeline Kahn to somebody else?
Because I love her so much. She's so great, especially in Mixed Nuts. But again, we talked about that a couple episodes ago. Who else was in Blazing Saddles or was in a movie with Richard Pryor or, just talk it through.
Well, obviously, Blazing Saddles, you also got Mel Brooks. You've got Harvey Korman.
And Mel Brooks really is a key to any other Mel Brooks movie with any other actor who's ever been in a Mel Brooks movie. And that is a trove, my friend.
Yeah. And isn't there extra points for when you get a director who played an actor in the film?
In an original iteration of the beta version of this gamepad, yes.
Which is what I'm looking at. So,
however, we have since updated that to be a house rule, which right now is no sequels for our record.
Okay. No points.
No points.
Golden star for trying. Okay. So you do have Mel Brooks. I'm trying to think I think of Spaceballs all the time. Spaceballs can get you to Rick Moranis.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know that Rick Moranis. So we still got to make a jump from, say, we've gone from Gene Wilder to Mel Brooks to Rick Moranis. And let me see. And then you got to do
Joan Rivers, because she was.
Or you could do Joan Rivers.
She was in Spaceballs.
Everything.
What else was Joan Rivers in?
All the Hollywood Walk of Fame
Sure,
shows.
but those are not movies. Now, unfortunately, I can give you a movie she was in with Bruce Willis, but unfortunately, that would only be 4 movies, and the name of this game
And
is
that
5
would
to 9
5, yeah.
because she was in the
3.
post-credit scene of Look Who's Talking.
Talking
where
to.
Bruce,
Oh,
no, the
Look Who's
original.
Talking. The
The
original.
original.
In the original,
Yeah.
Bruce Willis plays the baby. Joan Rivers plays the baby's sister in the post-credit scene. That by the time they got to the sequel, Look Who's Talking 2, they had recast that part with Roseanne Barr.
Right. I forgot about that. Oh, that was good.
What else was Joan Rivers in, though?
This is the problem I have, because Joan Rivers was in a lot of. She had her own TV shows where she interviewed a lot of people, but that's what I call the cul-de-sac.
What's the cul-de-sac?
And the cul-de-sac is where you're you remember a TV show like, hey, I want to go from Heather Graham to Christian Slater, and you're like, oh, well, Heather Graham and Mike Myers were in The Spy Who Shagged Me together, and Heather Graham and Mike Myers was in Rami Malek and Bohemian Rhapsody, and Rami Malek was in Mr. Robot with Christian Slater. Like, wait a minute.
Yeah,
that's a cul-de-sac. That's a TV
Rami
series.
Malek has not been in a lot of movies.
Yeah.
No, he has not.
I mean, obviously more recently since he won Best Actor for Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah, Bohemian Rhapsody. Yeah.
So you're in the cul-de-sac and you're cutting through somebody's lawn to get to where you want to go. So
yeah, I get you. Well, I can think of one other movie Joan Rivers was in, but if you can't think of it, that's okay, because we can pick anybody else in Spaceballs or really anybody else in any other Mel Brooks movie.
Okay.
Can you remember maybe like, what is the last movie Mel Brooks made?
Was it To Be or Not to Be?
No, that was an early one.
Oh no. Yeah, because I after To Be or Not to Be, I always get a little bit lost about what else he did.
I mean, he was in High Anxiety he made, which
High Anxiety was after To Be or Not to Be?
I don't know if it was before or after. I'm just thinking through Mel Brooks movies, but it was a silent
film. I'm showing
film.
my age here because I'm remembering when they were in the theaters.
What was the movie he was in where he made a bet with Jeffrey Tambor that he could, make it after losing all of his money, and then he wound up, a bum on the street called Pepto because the Pepto-Bismol box got silly puttied to his face.
Wow, you've lost us.
Yeah,
it might have been called Life Stinks.
That sounds familiar.
Or maybe that's just what they were chanting in the hospital ward. I can't recall.
I think it was Life Stinks, but I don't think I've ever seen that one.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Okay. But okay, so like literally any other Mel Brooks movie with any other actor.
Robin Hood, Men in Tights.
Sure. Lots of folks in that. Who's in that?
That was it Carrie Ewells? Was it?
Carrie Ewells, yeah.
Yeah. I can never say his name correctly.
Ewells. It was Princess Bride. He was also
he was the Princess Bride, right? Richard Lewis was in there with the
Hope it was worth the noise. Tracy Ullman,
I love her.
Tracy Ullman's a cul-de-sac. Stay away from Tracy Ullman.
That's right, because she's not in a lot of movies. She's in a lot of TV shows.
She's in a ton of TV shows.
Including the Tracy Ullman show, from which we get the Simpsons.
Exactly, we get the Simpsons. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Who was
Patrick Stewart was in that.
He was right at the end. He had the Sean Connery part.
Yes, he did.
And you will see anything Patrick Stewart is in, won't you?
Yes, I will.
So what's Patrick Stewart in?
Oh my God, he's done so many different things.
Right.
One of my favorites is he did a version of Hamlet with David Tennant that was so spectacular, and for the soccer mom crowd, that's a panty dropper right there.
And was that a movie or was that
it
like
was a movie?
Okay.
I mean, I got it on Blu-ray, but that's me.
Sure. But what else was Patrick Stewart in?
Okay.
Obviously, all the next gen stuff.
All the next gen stuff, and that's
sure. Star Wars: The Next Generation. I just watched while we're under quarantine. I watched Star Trek: The Next Generation. I'm sorry. I watched Star Trek Nemesis.
Okay.
For the first time, it was the one movie in the whole series that I had not seen, in part because I knew who died in the end, and I just didn't want to get there. But then I got to the end, and like he didn't really die.
Yeah. Well. Yeah.
And also, I really want to binge the new Star Trek Picard show, and I figure I should probably see the last thing Picard left off with before I see that.
Yeah.
So I
yeah.
watched that, and
it's helpful. Yeah.
the villain in that who played Picard's clone was,
It was Tom Hardy, right?
was Tom Hardy when he was 25 years old. I was blown away.
Yeah.
So was I. I went back and rewatched it recently, and he was so skinny back then,
Mm-hmm.
and he didn't even look like him, but the voice.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the voice was a dead giveaway, and then I looked up who that was, and I was.
One thing I really
Hardy,
liked
oh my
was
God.
the premise of that movie is, oh yeah, Picard's always been bald. He never had hair, even when he was a kid.
Even when he was a kid, yeah.
Yeah, he's just
that's
always
the
been
takeaway.
bald.
That's the takeaway.
Yeah. All right.
So Patrick Stewart, he was also in Wolverine.
Well, he was only in the third one. He was in Logan.
In Logan.
Actually, that's not true. He was in X-Men Origins Wolverine, where they de-aged him and they had him come rescue all the mutants from the warehouse.
Well, yeah, but he was also in X-Men, X2.
X-Men,
sure.
He was in
Absolutely, he was.
but I loved him in Logan. I thought he was spectacular in Logan.
America's favorite octogenarian. He says, nonagenarian. I had a birthday.
So funny.
All right, so I'm trying to think. Has Bruce Willis ever been in a movie with Tom Hardy? Halle Berry, because Halle Berry was in X-Men.
Mm-hmm.
I
feel like Bruce Willis and Halle Berry were in a movie together.
Yeah.
I can't put my finger on which one, but I feel like they were in a movie together.
Swordfish?
No,
that
was John Travolta and Hugh Jackman.
Right.
But and a lot of Halle Berry. But
yes, and a lot of Halle Berry.
Yes, but when I was a kid, I grew up, and again, I'm going to age myself here. I grew up watching Star Trek: The Next Generation, and I loved it. And I knew Patrick Stewart exclusively from that.
Okay.
And the very first time I saw him in a movie, he had a mustache and like really brown hair, like dyed brown hair. Do you remember the movie where he had a mustache?
Was it Excalibur?
Not that I recall.
Okay.
Not the one I'm thinking of.
I was going to say the one with Mel Brooks, where
not Mel Brooks. Not
Mel Brooks. Mel Gibson. Where he was like a conspiracy theorist.
Yeah, that's the name of the movie, Conspiracy Theory. You got it.
That was it.
You got it. And he played like the director of MK Ultra, or at least the guy who was there to clean it up.
Right.
And I feel like from Mel Gibson, and who else was in that?
Oh God.
Conspiracy. It was Julia Roberts.
Julia Roberts. There's got to be an easy way to connect to Bruce Willis, or at least Kevin Bacon.
Everything connects to Kevin Bacon.
For an extra 2 points, it does.
Yeah.
Tom Hurd was in that. Tom Hurd was and Tom Hurd's been one of those actors that you know, but he's been in everything. He was the guy that was like gonna help Julia Roberts get out, and instead he gets assassinated in his hotel room.
Naturally.
And the assassin comes in and takes a look at him. Poor Tom Hurd, he gained weight, and so the assassin takes a pillow and shoves it underneath his shirt and tries to at least get the body type of him. So when Julia Roberts and he meet in the street, he can pull out the gun and try and shoot her by the side.
I'm trying to visualize this. I can't think of a Tom Hurd. I can think of a John Hurd, but I'm not coming up with a Tom Hurd. I believe you, but I'm looking it up.
Now, see,
maybe it is John Hurd.
I don't really know John Hurd. I know John Hurt.
Sure.
No, I know.
But I don't know John Hurt.
All right. Whenever I make decaf, you always quote one movie.
Oh God. Grumpy Old Men?
No, it's when they were. No, it's
decaf.
Yeah, it's like you're drinking decaf.
Yeah.
And it's
It was John.
I can't remember their names.
And
they're both presidents, right? They were.
Oh,
both,
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I like where you're going with this.
Yeah,
Now I'm
and
confused.
so it was. Uh, The
Jack Lemmon
Rockford Files,
and
Jack
yeah.
Lemmon and Rockford Files, and I can't
Uh-huh.
see his face, and I can't think of his name.
You got it. Come on, you're so close.
Come on. Ugh.
Walter
Ah,
Matthau.
no,
No.
no, 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 no.
He was
Oh
also
Oh,
in
no, I'm
some
thinking
like
of the original.
yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah.
no, no. Keep going, because I can't remember. I can't remember his name. Wolford, Rock Wolford? No. It's got a W. I think is there a W in it? In his name?
Keep going.
No, Rockford. I'm saying Rock because of Rockford Files. James?
Yes. James what?
I'm stuck because my brain is going Willoughby. No, it's not Willoughby. It's Willoughby. No, it's
Well,
not Willoughby.
I will tell
It's
you, John Hurd was in the movie you're thinking of, but he was not in Conspiracy Theory.
okay.
Oh, interesting. So
Okay.
no
All right. So
connection.
no connection.
So
And
we're
that.
Nope.
back out.
Sorry, that was a dead end. I drove
No
off a
Yeah.
cliff on
problem.
that one. All right. I'm gonna figure out who it was I'm thinking of.
But the movie you were thinking of was My Fellow Americans with
My Fellow Americans.
James Garner, who
James
played
Garner.
Maverick, and in the movie Maverick with Mel Gibson played Maverick's dad,
Damn.
making the movie not an adaptation of the TV show, but a sequel to it. Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's get back to conspiracy theory. Patrick
Sure.
Stewart to conspiracy theory. We've got Julia Roberts.
Uh-huh.
You've got
Do you know what movie she was in with Kevin Bacon? Can we get to Kevin Bacon for 2 bonus points?
Flatliners.
Yay.
There you
That's
go.
right. That's right.
So now
But
we have to
now-
get from Kevin Bacon to Bruce
Bacon to
Willis,
Bruce
which should
Willis.
be pretty easy.
All right. My problem is the Kevin Bacon movies I always get lost on. So he wasn't so Bruce Willis was not in Hollow Man. He wasn't in I have to go through all the movies that I know with Kevin
All the
Bacon
Kevin
in.
Bacon movies.
Do it.
He wasn't in Footloose. He wasn't in obviously we can't go back to Flatliners.
No, we cannot.
So
Bruce Willis just keeps on making movies, man. He just keeps
he
on
makes
making
a
them.
ton of movies.
Makes tons of
Mm-hmm.
movies.
Well, all right, so Kevin Bacon was in none of the Die Hard movies, so those are all
True.
all out.
True.
I don't think was he
wait a
in the
minute.
Last Boy Scout? He wasn't in the Last Boy Scout.
Kevin Bacon, I do not recall being in The Last Boy Scout now.
I think I fucked a squirrel.
Let's keep it PG, though.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Edit that out.
I will, don't
It's the
worry.
only thing I remember from the Last Boy Scout.
I saw The Nice Guys. That was another Shane Black movie while I was during quarantine.
I wish you saw that one. We still haven't seen that one. That one's
Yeah,
one that we really
I enjoyed it. I thought that like the plot they tried to weave in at the end was dumb, but other than that, I really enjoyed it.
Okay.
How do we get from Kevin Bacon to Bruce Willis? I feel like Julia Roberts and Bruce Willis were like dating for a while, like in the early 90s. Or am I imagining that?
I have the feeling that that's right.
Yeah, I feel like there was a time, but now it's like out of my head.
Right.
But okay, so from Kevin Bacon to Bruce Willis. Sure. Run through Kevin Bacon movies. Ooh, I've got it.
Wasn't Kevin Bacon in one of the X-Men films?
He was. He was in
Submarine
X-Men First
Commander?
Class.
First
He
Class.
played
right.
Sebastian Shaw.
Right.
Right.
Well, Patrick Stewart was not in that one,
He was not in that one. That's correct. There's a few that he was not in.
Because that would have been a great connection right there.
But, well, I mean, that would be great to get from Kevin Bacon back to Patrick Stewart.
Right.
But we're trying to get to Bruce Willis.
But we're trying to get to Bruce
guy.
Willis.
Different bald guy.
Different bald guy.
Bald heads are different.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, Sin City.
Mm-hmm.
Bruce Willis was in that, and there was a lot of people in there.
Sure were.
I remember Mickey Rourke was in that.
Yeah.
And Mickey Rourke's been in a lot of things. So
He
there's got to
was.
be a
In fact,
way.
I don't want to like push you toward anything, but he was in a movie with Kevin Bacon.
Mickey Rourke was.
He was.
Don't tell me it's Footloose because I'll scream.
It's not Footloose,
Okay.
and we did actually use it last episode, so I wouldn't like encourage you. I don't want the episodes to get stale with like, oh, you always talk about the same Kevin Bacon movies, man. But you know, you don't have to use Mickey Rourke. You can, you know, go any other direction you want to get to Kevin Bacon somehow, you know, or not. Think it through.
Okay. Joseph Gordon-Levitt was in with Bruce Willis in a couple of different movies. He was in Looper, and he was also in Sin City.
About Looper. I don't think Kevin was he?
I don't think he was in Sin City.
I think he was in Sin City. Maybe I'm thinking Sin City 2.
Yeah, it might have been. Which, you know, in fairness, Bruce Willis was in both.
Yeah.
You know, I watched the original movie so many times because I love it, and I watched the sequel once.
Okay.
I saw it to see it. It wasn't any good.
Sequel. I might be thinking of the sequel.
Maybe. And, you know, Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Looper.
Yeah, sure.
You know, so we could probably.
How does it help us, though?
I don't know.
Does it get us to Kevin Bacon?
I'm thinking, and I keep drawing blanks.
Okay, well, let's think for a second. Rattle off some Kevin Bacon movies. See where that takes you.
Flatliners.
Right, which is how we got there.
Julia Roberts, yeah. There was a one where he was talking to a ghost through a TV. And it was like the ghost of his dead son. What was that one called?
It sounds like either I haven't seen the movie or you're misremembering The Sixth Sense.
No, it wasn't Sixth Sense. Definitely not that.
There was one where it was a Philly house and he ends up digging up the basement to find a body, and it turns out to be like his brother. Problem is, I remember him in the movie, and I don't remember anybody else in that movie.
No.
I think that might be the one I'm thinking of.
Yeah, I think that's what the one, because it's Philly based. So of course, you're remembering that one.
Yeah.
Sure. Any movie based out of Philadelphia, you guys have. Like Silver Linings Playbook is like probably like the most Philly movie ever, and you love it.
It's like
it is, and I do like it.
Yeah.
But I would not say I love it.
I love it. I'm going to speak for me then. Yeah. I love Silver Linings Playbook.
And the weird thing about it is that there's a couple times when you're watching the movie, they make turns and they run around things. And it's like, wow, they're taking this area that we know so well, but they're applying non-Euclidean geometry to it. So you make a right turn and you end up like 5 blocks over to someplace else. And
well, I mean, every movie does that that's set in a city. It's like every movie that's set in Seattle, you got a picture of the Space Needle from every window. Every movie in Paris, you have everyone can see the Eiffel Tower.
Exactly.
You know, like every movie that's set in San Francisco, everybody has a view of the Golden Gate Bridge, apparently.
Yeah, 100%.
I watched Vertigo the other day with, you know, so much of it based, you know, set at the Golden Gate Bridge. Right. I did not enjoy that movie. AFI ranked it the best movie ever made, and I don't think so.
Sleepless in Seattle, right? That was
unrelated to the Vertigo comment, but
Vertigo. Sorry, Vertigo.
Yeah,
I loved Vertigo, actually.
Vertigo was quite good.
Yeah. Didn't do it for me.
Wow, see, I disagree with you. That was a good one. I'm going to stand by that one.
We could spend half an hour talking about it, but right now we have to get from Kevin Bacon to Bruce Willis.
Yeah.
We'll just edit that part out.
Yeah.
All right, so back to we had something, and then
we lost it.
And I got
sidetracked.
Of course.
Well, I mean, you were getting, I guess, from Bruce Willis to Bruce Willis.
Yeah, I guess we did do that anyway.
So
Well, okay. So Kevin Bacon, you mentioned Hollow Man, right?
Hmm.
And who else was in Hollow Man,
Two
Jeff?
people I can think of.
I Colin Firth, was it?
I
no,
do not believe
No.
Colin Firth was in that one.
Maybe I'm thinking of something else.
it's weird because I just saw bits of that, and I
Uh,
was like, it's basically a take on the Invisible Man, and he
Yeah,
starts stalking all of his workmates, and I was like, oh, that's da 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 da, and that's da 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 da, and now all of their names have completely evaporated from
yeah,
my
you lost it
head.
all, huh?
Yeah, so Hollow Man is kind of unfortunately a dead end for me.
okay.
Bummer.
Sh- Let me think again about X-Men First Class. Who all was in that? That was Fassbender.
Michael
Michael
Fassbender. Yep.
Fassbender. Yeah.
That was Jennifer Lawrence
Hmm.
was in that one. So here's a quick one. Was Jennifer Lawrence in a movie with Bruce Willis?
Hmm.
It would have to be a recent one.
Yeah, I mean, Jennifer Lawrence, as huge of a star as she is, really became a star from Winter's Bone, which was only 10 years ago. So her entire amazing career thus far has just been like a decade.
Right.
You know, she helmed an X-Men franchise. She helmed a Hunger Games franchise. She's been in a bunch of David O. Russell movies, which she's been phenomenal in all of them. And all of that is all in the last decade, plus any other role that she had some time to play.
Was De Niro and um, Bruce Willis in a movie together?
Not that I remember.
I mean, I feel like because both De Niro and Bruce Willis never turned down roles, I feel like they have to have been.
Like, why isn't there a crossover between the two of them?
Right? But off
Yeah.
the top of my head, I can think of an actor they've both been in a movie with. Off the top of my head. Oh, you know what? No, I think you've got it with X-Men First Class. I think you've got it because who was the star of X-Men First Class?
James McAvoy.
James McAvoy. And if we have to get from James McAvoy to
But
Bruce Willis,
I thought he mostly did TV though.
no.
No.
James McAvoy, huge movie star. And in fact, he just recently did a movie with Bruce Willis. It was like a crossover. He crossed over his movie and Bruce Willis's movie, crossed over into their movie.
If you tell me this was X-Men Dark Phoenix and I haven't
No,
seen
no,
it
no,
yet,
no,
I'm
no, no,
going to
no,
be
no, no,
all right.
no,
Nope.
no, no, no. Was it Glass?
It was Glass, that's right. Because Bruce Willis played
Right.
David Dunn.
Right.
And James McAvoy played the
Played-
Horde.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, you guys did it. You are winners. You have won the game.
Oh my God. Wow.
You did it.
You called it.
Let's tally everything up. Let's get all the points done.
Okay.
Give me 1 second to jot it down here on my
So we
game
got-
board. And I'm going
we
to try to
got
pop that
Kevin
game board
Bacon.
onto the screen. Give me 1 second. I was taking some notes and now I got to move some stuff around for you without hitting my microphone. Move. Drop. Boop. Okay. I'm going to see if I can share the screen as I tally this all up. Boop. All right. Cancel, share, screen, Zoom, start. Ooh, wrong one. All right, so we have right here on our board, we had to get from Uma Thurman to Gene Wilder. Our wild card was going to be Bruce Willis. And so you guys said Uma Thurman was in Pulp Fiction with Bruce Willis. Boom, there is your wild card for 3 points. Ta-da. Then you said Bruce Willis was in Glass with James McAvoy, which is how we got to the ending. You said he was in X-Men First Class with Kevin Bacon for 2 points, who was in Flatliners with Julia Roberts, who was in Conspiracy Theory with Patrick Stewart, who had a very small but wonderful role in Robin Hood Men in Tights with Mel Brooks, who was in Blazing Saddles with Gene Wilder. So we're going to take 10 minus the number of movies, which was 7 movies. That's going to get us 3 points, plus the 3 points for the wild card is 6, plus the 2 points for Kevin Bacon is 8. Did we use any SNL cast members? We did not this time. Did we do our house rule of no sequels? Well, Uma Thurman was in a sequel of Get Shorty called Be Cool. Bruce Willis has done plenty of Die Hard movies.
Right.
James McAvoy has done plenty of X-Men movies. I got to be honest. I think Kevin Bacon has never been in a sequel of one of his own movies, but it would be unfair to count him because X-Men First Class is somewhat of a prequel to the original X-Men series, so we're going to leave that one alone. Has Julia Roberts ever done a sequel? She has. It was Ocean's 12. Patrick Stewart, of course, a number of Star Trek films, 4 of them to be exact. Mel Brooks didn't do any sequels that I can think of, though he did do a remake of The Producers with Uma Thurman.
Right.
But believe it or not, as much as, merchandising, as Yogurt said, I don't think Mel Brooks has ever been in a true sequel.
I don't think so.
I think that's going to be a bonus point on the house rule. And was Gene Wilder ever in a sequel? Not that I can recall. So he also is going to get us a bonus point on the house rule for a mammoth 10 points and a win today with double digits on the show. Jeff Moller, Maria Raia-Moller, I cannot thank you guys enough. You did a great job. Thanks so much for taking the time to be on 5 to 9 today, for playing our game. You've each won the official 5 to 9 gamepad, which comes with 50 game cards and is also available now at 5to9game.com. Listeners, I don't have anything to plug. Hold on, let me skip that. And let me stop sharing my damn screen while I'm in the middle of flubbing stuff. Leave.
Come on, Mommy. Come on.
Leave.
Ellie, come here.
All right. It's fun to have a graphic up on the screen, though. If you 5 to 9ers listening out there in the podcast ether were chomping at the bit, yelling out a better solution to today's challenge as we played through it, you can enter for a chance to come on our show by beating us at our own game. Just download or purchase official 5 to 9 game cards at 5to9game.com. Let me do that whole thing again. If you 5 to 9ers listening out there in the podcast ether were chomping at the bit, yelling out a better solution to today's challenge as we played through it, you can enter for a chance to come on our show by beating us at our own game. Just download or purchase official 5 to 9 game cards at 5to9game.com, play today's challenge, post your game card on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook, and tag at 5 to 9 game in your post. High scores, as well as creativity and entertainment value, will all be considered. This has been 5 to 9. I'm your host, Eric Ginsberg. Our show is recorded at a shared unit. Oh, I said that wrong, and Mole just dropped out of the thing. Mole, we're recording video here. This has been 5 to 9. I'm your host, Eric Ginsberg. Our show is recorded from my apartment in Asbury Park and from Mole and I'm doing it. Do that part again. I'm going to do the whole outro again. Get Mole back.
Okay, go ahead. You got to get back on.
Get back. We're not done.
Your computer died? Okay.
Okay, we'll hang out right over here. Squeeze in.
Squeeze in. Grab Millie.
Making it weird. If you 5 to 9ers listening out there in the podcast ether were chomping at the bit, yelling out a better solution to today's challenge as we played through it, you can enter for a chance to come on our show by beating us at our own game. Just download or purchase official 5 to 9 game cards at 5to9game.com. Play today's challenge, post your game card on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook, and tag at 5 to 9 game in your post. High scores, as well as creativity and entertainment value, will be considered. This has been 5 to 9. I'm your host, Eric Ginsberg. Our show is recorded from my apartment during quarantine in beautiful Asbury Park, New Jersey, as well as at Jeff and Maria's house in Philadelphia.
And this is Millie.
Yeah. Our sound engineers today have been us. We're doing it ourselves while we're all stuck at home. Our theme music is by me. You can subscribe to 5 to 9 podcast through the Apple Podcast app, Google Podcast Store, SoundCloud, Spotify, YouTube if you guys want to look at us too, or literally everywhere else you get your podcasts. Please play with us online through social media on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. You can play today's challenge or make up your own and play with or against the global 529 community. Just don't forget to tag at 529game when you do. Thanks for listening, and let's play together again soon.
Yay!
Okay, stop recording your audio.